A racist woman's hateful remarks try to silence a black musician in a busy park, but his response sparks a moment that stops everyone in their tracks. What happens next will inspire and challenge everything you believe. Join the conversation below and let us know where you're watching from. It was a warm afternoon in the heart of Charleston, South Carolina. The park was bustling with life. Children laughing near the fountain, joggers passing by, and families enjoying the shade under tall oak trees. In the midst of this, a street musician named Marcus Jackson set up his spot near a busy pathway. Marcus was a tall, confident black man in his mid-30s, wearing a simple white shirt and jeans. His warm smile and deep voice often drew a crowd as he played his saxophone with soul and passion. Today was no different. People stopped to listen as his music filled the air, a melody so moving it seemed to touch everyone who passed by. As he finished a song, a few clapped, and a little girl ran up to place $1 in his open saxophone case. Marcus gave her a kind nod and started playing another tune. But not everyone was enjoying the moment. Near the edge of the crowd, a woman in her late 40s, dressed in a pastel cardigan and pearl necklace, stood with her arms crossed. Her name was Linda Pearson. To her, Marcus wasn't just a street performer. He was a problem. Linda had lived in Charleston her whole life and often claimed she knew what this city should look like. Seeing Marcus, confident and unapologetically himself, stirred something ugly in her. She muttered loud enough for people nearby to hear, "These people don't belong here, ruining our nice parks with their noise." Marcus heard her but didn't stop playing. He'd dealt with comments like this before. He wasn't going to let it break his spirit. Linda wasn't done. She stepped closer, her voice sharp. "Why don't you take your noise and go back to Africa? This isn't your place." The crowd fell silent. A few gasped. Others shifted uncomfortably, unsure how to react. Marcus slowly lowered his saxophone, his eyes meeting hers. His face was calm, but his eyes held something deeper, a mix of sadness and determination. Linda's words hung in the air, and for a moment, the entire park seemed frozen. People turned to see how Marcus would respond. He could feel their eyes on him, waiting for him to lash out or argue. But Marcus didn't raise his voice. Instead, he stepped forward, looking at Linda with the kind of confidence that comes from knowing who you are. He spoke in a voice that was calm yet firm, carrying the weight of a lifetime of experiences. "You think I don't belong here," he said, his words cutting through the silence like a knife. "Let me tell you a story." He took a step back and motioned to the crowd, his voice rising just enough to reach everyone nearby. "Do you know how my family got here? My great-grandfather was forced to come to this country in chains, stripped of his home, his language, and his freedom. He didn't have a choice, but he built a life anyway. He worked harder than you could imagine, not for himself but for the generations that would come after him, people like me." The crowd leaned in, captivated by his words. Even Linda, though still standing stiffly, couldn't look away. "And you know what?" Marcus continued, his voice growing stronger. "I'm proud of where I come from. I'm proud of the music I play, the life I live, and the history I carry with me. You think telling me to go back will make me ashamed? It won't. Because my roots here run deeper than yours ever could." Linda opened her mouth to speak, but Marcus didn't give her a chance. He wasn't finished. The tension in the park was palpable, but Marcus didn't falter. He turned slightly, addressing not just Linda but everyone watching. "You see, hate like hers isn't new to me. It's been passed down, just like my strength, just like my resilience. But here's the difference: I don't carry hate. I refuse to. I carry hope, and I carry truth." He gestured to his saxophone case, where the little girl's $1 still lay. "This music I play, it's not just notes. It's history. It's freedom. It's a reminder that no matter how many times someone like her tells me I don't belong, I'll stand here anyway, because this is my home too." The crowd murmured in agreement. A few people clapped softly, but Marcus wasn't finished. He looked back at Linda, his tone steady but piercing. "And let me ask you something, ma'am. When you say, go back to Africa, what do you mean by that? Are you saying I don't deserve the same rights you do? That I haven't earned my place here? Because if that's what you think, you're not just wrong, you're blind. Linda's face turned red. She fidgeted with the strap of her purse, trying to maintain her composure, but the cracks in her facade were beginning to show. Marcus pressed on, not with anger, but with unshakable truth. My ancestors built this country with their blood, sweat, and tears. They didn't get a choice. But they gave everything they had so that someone like me could stand here today, free to speak my mind, free to play my music, free to exist. So when you tell me to go back, you're not just insulting me. You're disrespecting the history that made this country what it is. The crowd began clapping louder now, people nodding and murmuring their support. Linda shifted uncomfortably, realizing she was no longer in control of the moment. Her sharp words had backfired, and Marcus had turned them into a powerful message. Marcus took a deep breath, his voice softening just a bit. And you know what else? I don't hate you for what you said. Hate doesn't solve anything. If anything, I feel sorry for you. Sorry that you've chosen to carry hate instead of understanding. But I'm not here to change your mind. That's on you. With that, Marcus turned to the crowd and gave a small bow. Thank you all for listening. Now, if you'll excuse me, I've got a song to finish. He picked up his saxophone, placed it to his lips, and began playing again. The music that filled the park wasn't just beautiful, it was triumphant. It was a sound that silenced hate, uplifted hearts, and reminded everyone there of the power of grace and resilience. The crowd erupted into applause, cheering for Marcus, his words, and his music. Even those who had simply walked by stopped to listen, captivated by the moment. Some people walked up to place money in his case, while others simply smiled and nodded at him in solidarity. Linda, on the other hand, slinked away, her head down and her words lost in the sea of applause. No one followed her. No one defended her. The park belonged to Marcus now, his music, his story, his strength. As the song came to an end, Marcus looked around at the faces in the crowd, his heart full. He didn't play for fame or recognition. He played because it was his way of fighting back, of healing, of showing the world that no matter how much hate it threw at him, he would always rise above it. And in that moment, he knew he had done more than respond to Linda's hate. He had turned it into something powerful, something that would stay with every person who had heard it that day. The park slowly returned to its usual rhythm, but the impact of Marcus's words and music lingered. People would leave that day with a story to tell, a lesson to share, and a reminder that courage, kindness, and truth will always triumph over hate.